What's going on? It's your boy DJ-1000. You're watching DJ-1000 TV, and welcome to my review of the DDJ-1000 by Pioneer DJ. This is a 4-channel controller for Rekordbox DJ, and this was one of the most requested reviews of the last couple of months. I got a lot of questions about equipment, but a lot of you wanted me to talk about this controller. I had it in the studio a couple of months ago. It had to go back to Pioneer for a special event. I had it back in the studio a couple of weeks ago, tried it out, tested it. Absolutely love it, and I can tell you right now, this is one of my all-time favorite controllers without moving platters. If you know me and if you know the channel, you know that I prefer turntables, and when it comes to controllers, normally I will go for the controllers with the moving platters. Now, this is definitely not a controller with moving platters. It has normal jog wheels, but the jog wheels are definitely a special feature when it comes to this controller. At first glance, you can tell that these jog wheels look a lot like the jog wheels on the DDJ-1000, and that is because they are the same size, same type of jog wheels, but there's a lot more going on in that center display, and it's one of the many features that I truly like about this controller. So I want to talk about all the things I like, some of the things I didn't really like, and let's just jump into that right now. Now, I really like the way the DDJ-1000 is designed. It's a mid-sized controller. It's just a little bit bigger than the SX3, but not a lot bigger. It has these large jog wheels, which I love, but that means that it doesn't have the same amount of real estate to place extra buttons as some of the other controllers. If your jog wheels are smaller, you're gonna have more space for buttons and knobs and touch strips and all of that stuff. So for instance, this controller does not have an effects row on top that you see with a lot of controllers to control effects inside the software. But I don't really mind because they have a solution for that. I'm actually a fan of having less knobs and buttons on the controller. You already have your mixer section with your EQ and filters. You have your faders. You have your performance pads. I don't need to have extra stuff everywhere. It gets a little bit overwhelming, but that's me personally. I would prefer bigger jog wheels over more buttons any day. So let's take a closer look at this bad boy right here, and let's start with the player section. The jog wheels, of course, I already talked about them a bit with the display in the middle. I'll get to that display in a second. Let's just start at the top. Over here, you have your manual control for loop, so you have your loop in and loop out, or you can activate a 4-beat loop, so you have your auto loop right there. So if I'm playing a track and I hit that 4-beat loop, it's just gonna give me a 4-beat loop, and I can make that loop shorter, 2 beats, 1 beat, or make it longer. And if I hit it again, it'll exit the loop, same as on a CDJ. Now, next to that, we have Quantize. I don't use Quantize. I like to have total freedom, but if you have Quantize activated, it'll only activate or trigger certain things on beat. So for instance, if I start to bang on these pads with the hot cues, it'll still only give me that on beat. Now, I don't like that, so I'll turn it off. I want to have that freedom when I'm triggering my hot cues, but for some of you, if you want to make sure that everything is on beat, you can use Quantize for that. Next to that, you have the slip feature. Once you activate that, that's pretty cool. The display will turn red. So you can tell straight away, like, hey, slip is still active. Turn it off again, and then it's gone. Now, what slip does, it lets the track play on in the background, even if you're playing with the jog wheel. So you can see, if you look at the track right here, if I stop and hold this, you can actually see that the track is continuing to play in the background, and once I let it go, it'll go straight back to where the track is still playing. Next to it, a very important knob. This is what you use to go through your track. So you scroll through your playlist. If you hit back, you can go through the rest of your playlist so you can see what else is here and find the playlist that you want to use for whatever you're doing. Hit it, and then you're back in. Now, if this is not enough for you, so you want to see more of your playlist, you can hit view, and then the entire real estate becomes just a view of what's in your playlist. And once you found what you're looking for, hit view again, and then you're back to seeing your virtual players. Now, you have some secondary features here as well. So underneath view is related tracks. Within Rekordbox, you have that related tracks feature. So if you're playing a track, you want Rekordbox to show you some tracks that are similar to it, that will work with it. Hit related tracks and it'll show you that. And you can also use the back feature. The secondary feature is the playlist palette, and it'll let you go through all the different sorts of playlist looks that you have. I don't really use that. Rekordbox has a lot of those features, but they made sure that a lot of it is controllable from right here. You have the slip reverse on that side. Slip reverse is something you can use if you want to just take out a couple of words. So for instance, let's say you don't have a clean version of a track, you know there's a cuss word coming. If the track is playing, you hit that, it'll reverse, but again, in the background, the track is still playing. If you go to the secondary feature, you have normal reverse, and then it'll play the track back. All right, let's go below the jog wheel for a second. Now the shift button is very important on all controllers because most controllers will have secondary features underneath the knobs and buttons because you want to take advantage of all the space you have. So like I said, you have these secondary features with back and view, slip, reverse, and reverse. So if you want to get to that secondary feature that's underneath, hit shift, then hit that button, and then you'll get that secondary feature. You have your search. If you work with track lists, so you know that the next track in your playlist is the track that you're going to play, you don't have to use the knob to scroll because there's no scrolling involved. You can just hit search and it'll take you to the next track, load that into the deck, and you can use that, and that's faster than using that one. Now, this is what you find on most controllers. You have your performance pads, 8 pads, 4 pad modes, and 4 secondary pad modes, so 8 pad modes in total. You have your hot cues to trigger your cue points. I have them in different colors. If you have the DDJ-1000 and yours are all green, you can go into the settings and you can change that. So you go into view in the preferences, and if you scroll down, you go here, you see color, hot cue. Normally that is set to CDJ, and then as you see, they all turn green. But I have them on colorful, and now they're different colors, and you can choose which colors you use. I like to have that so I can put names with the cue points and colors. If they're all green, even have 8 points, it becomes confusing to me. So you have your hot cues. If you hit that with shift, you go to the secondary feature, that's keyboard. When the track is playing, you can take the cue points and play them in different keys. And the white one is always your normal key. So go back. Second one is pad effects. Now the pad effects are the solution to the fact that you don't have your effects section at the top. So the pads are used to activate the effects. I believe you can rearrange these. I haven't done that. So right now I can see this is transform at half a beat. Next one is crush. You have a filter, backspin, a delay at 1/8, a dub echo, space, and an echo. So now it has slip loop at 1/8, quarter, half, or a beat, a delay at a quarter, another filter, reverb, and a break. So you have a lot of different effects in there. I believe you can rearrange those. So for me, I don't use a lot of effects. I'll put my main effects under those pads and control them right there from pad effects. I'll probably won't even get further than pad effects 1 and not even use 2. I'm perfectly fine with a couple of effects. I'll place those right there and then I'm good. Now the fact is you don't actually need more because you also have onboard effects. I'll get to that when we get to the mixer part. Let me just continue here first. You have some beat jump options that'll allow you to go through the beats, shift beats, so 1 beat or 2 beat or 4 beat or 8 beats ahead and back, so front back. So that works. Then you have the sampler, and the sampler just gives you a couple of banks filled with samples. You have a dedicated sample volume right here, and that's one I added, and you can go through the banks and then find some stock sounds. You can change if you want to hear the entire sample just by hitting it once, or just to hear the sample as long as you hold it. So in this case, this one only plays as long as I hold it. And these will play all the way. I guess the air horn is there. I know some of you still want that air horn. It's there. Then you also have key shift, so it has shift and hit that again. Now I can go up a bunch of keys. Now I don't really like the way this sounds, but you have the option. and go back to the original key. Right there, you have a lot of features to control a lot of the functions inside the software. Everything I need is basically right here. Like I said, I don't mind to have less buttons and knobs and the larger jog wheels. And I love the fact that they have so much information within that jog wheel. So you have your BPM, your current BPM. If I change the pitch, you can see that BPM change as well. At the bottom, you have your time. You can see how much time you have left. Go back to the beginning. I like the fact that you see the wave file. It would have been cool if you had an option to maybe zoom in a bit, but I understand this way you do have the total view and you can easily spot when you're gonna hit a break or anything like that. You can see the amount of cue points, you can see where your cue points are at. So that's pretty cool. I like the fact that I have the tempo range inside the display, so I can see that it's at +10. Now I love the fact that you have that little red warning that slip is activated, but I also like the fact that if you have your fader set to a certain deck, so for instance now it's set to this deck, deck 2, it turns white. If you notice that deck 1 is not white. Now if I change the fader from here to there, this one is no longer white, now this one is, so it also tells you which deck is actually able to send out volume. So for instance, if I'm playing that one, I know that right now no one can hear what I'm doing. But if I hit that fader a little bit and I didn't notice that it's open, I can still see like, hey, if I do something now, people are gonna hear it. So nice little indicator. Also works with the channel faders. Take them down, take them up. So those are little visual cues that I really like. Now it's a 4-channel controller. 2 jog wheels, so you have your option to switch here from deck 2 to deck 4, and they also added that it doesn't just show deck 4, but it also gives you a different color. So again, a nice visual indicator to let you know, hey, I'm playing in my first deck or in a secondary deck like that. Now for me personally, as someone who likes to scratch, do a little beat juggling, I love the fact that I have my sticker right here, and even if it moves, it shows me exactly where my cue point was, so I know how far I have to take it back to get back to the start of that cue point. Really love that. Again, I can see how far I have to take it back. Now in the CDJs, you also have that little marker that actually shows you how you're moving, but it's not as clear as this one. And I love the fact that the cue points have the different colors, so you can also tell which cue point you're in straight away. I just really like that display, and I can tell already, normally if I had a controller and my computer, I would probably spend a little more time looking there for certain information. With this controller, it's really not that necessary. One thing, maybe for the future, that could be even cooler, is if you also had the option to see your track list here. I know it's a small display. I prefer large displays, but just to have that as an option, that would be really cool. Even if you only see like 4 or 5 tracks, that you could scroll and see them here. Who knows, maybe that'll happen in the future. Now let's go to the middle. This is the mixer part, and this is a standalone mixer. So you use it as your mixer when you're using the controller, but you also have the option to just plug in 4 different devices and have audio for those devices, use the filters on those devices, and also the onboard effects, because this has your normal onboard effects that you find on your DJM-900 mixer. I don't know if they're exactly the same, but you have low cut echo, you have a delay, spiral, reverb, transform, enigma, jet, flanger, phaser, pitch, slip roll, and Mobius. I haven't even checked what Mobius is, but I mean, you have all of these right here. They are beat effects. You have the option to switch the beats. You can do auto, you can do tap, you can assign them to all different channels. So to me, that's just great that you have those onboard effects. And for me personally, when a mixer has that, I hardly get around to use the effects inside DJ software. So for me, I'm good right here. I'll use my filter. You have your normal filter, high pass, low pass. You have pitch. I don't use it, but it's there. You have your dub echo. And you have the noise. Now noise I'll never use on the channel of the deck. I'll use it on the other deck though. Turn the volume down. for something like that. It's just cool to have. So you have a lot going on right here. Now, let's continue with some of the good things about this controller. If you look at the top right here, you have the option to go USB-A. That's what I'm using right now. In the middle, you have line and 2 channels that have line phono. So yes, you can connect 2 turntables. But if you take it all the way to the other side, you have USB-B, and that's because this has dual USB ports. So you have 2 USB ports. That means that 2 DJs can connect at the same time, either to play together or just to make that transition between DJs just seamless. I feel modern day controllers need to have the dual USB. It's just such a relief to have that. So if you're playing, this is the main unit to be used at night and you have to switch DJs. You don't have to have someone start a CD or bring out an iPad to play a track when the DJs are switching. No, second DJ can just come in, plug in, and you're good to go. So very important. Absolutely love that. Now, back to the mixer, it has the Magvel fader, and I really like the way this fader feels and works. It feels like the DJM-900, the fader that I have on my SRT. I can really work with this. Now, it's definitely not a turntablism device, otherwise you would not have the knobs right here, but it works really well. Now you have your assign for all the channels, same as on the DJM, so you have A, B, or through. Sampler volume, your headphone volume, choose between master and Q, everything that you're used to if you're working with Pioneer equipment in the clubs as well. That's why I feel this feels so familiar, and yeah, I truly enjoy the way this feels and looks. Now, the one thing that you get with a design like this, the one thing I didn't really like as much is the fact that your channel faders are a bit short. They feel pretty good, but they are short. And the VU meter right here is also very short. And I noticed that before you know it, you're already going into the orange and red because it's that short. Now, I know that's just something you'll have to get used to. But if I use it for a second, that's the first thing I know is like, hey, would have been cool if it was longer. But then again, if you want to make that longer, you're going to have to make the entire controller bigger. So that's always going to be a compromise that brands will have to make. Are we going to go big and all out, or do we want to keep it a little bit smaller? But then you have to make certain sacrifices. I can live with that sacrifice, but it is something I noticed that would have been cool if it could have been different. Now, when it comes to the rest of the ins and outs, it's pretty standard, but everything you need is there. You have your master out XLR or RCA. You have your booth out, that's a jack output, and you have a microphone input, an XLR input, and a secondary input that's only a jack input, so you can add 2 mics. So basically, that is what you have on this controller. There is one more thing I want to show you real quick because to me, that's exciting. All right, so what I want to show you is not new. There are other controllers that have this feature, but I just love the fact that this controller also has that feature. Like I said, you can use the mixer to just plug in extra equipment. So I have one of the line phono ports and I just connected a turntable. I have my decks right here within the controller. So this is deck 1. I can switch, go to deck 3. But what I can do now, since I just added that turntable, let me just open up the 4 decks for a second so I can see them. I'm gonna take deck 3 right now, and I'm gonna go from internal to a relative mode. And on my turntable right here, I have record box DVS control vinyl. So what it means is if you have your record box DJ DVS license, you can use this mixer right here as your DVS mixer for record box DJ. It also means that you could use these 2 jog wheels in the middle to control decks 1 and 2, and you could use 2 turntables on the side to control deck 3 and 4. So when it comes to the conclusion, you already know what I'm gonna say because I told you in the beginning, this is one of my all-time favorite controllers with non-moving platters. I really, really like the look, love the feel. The jog wheels are amazing. They are CDJ jog wheels. They feel the same, they act the same. Only thing is they have a lot more information for me to look at, and I love that. The fader on this is the same as that DJM, so it gives me the feeling of using a CDJ DJM set in a smaller package, but definitely not so small that it feels like I don't have enough room to move. So for me, that feeling is very important when it comes to whatever device I use. Now, I have the onboard effects, which I love. I have my filter, the knobs, the channel faders are a little bit short, but I can work with that. I can get used to that. Now, when it comes to the performance pads, they're performance pads. That's what I'm used to. All controllers have them now. My S9 has them. I love them, especially for my hot cues. Mine will be mostly used for the hot cues, but I like the fact that I can set whatever effect I want to in the software and activate that from here as well. But besides that, I don't use that a lot. I'll spend most of my time finding my tracks, having the track here, using my EQ, doing my mix, adding a little effect here and there, and then I'm good to go. So a couple of things, hopefully in the future they'll get even more in this display. Like I said, maybe the option to browse or zoom in a little bit, but we'll see what happens. Maybe some of those things could be done with future firmware updates. But besides that, I really love it. The DVS capability, adding turntables, plenty of inputs if you want to add extra devices, microphones. On the other side, you have your headphones, small and big jack. So everything I need is basically here, and I can carry this under my arm if I have to take it to a gig. It's not that heavy. So what more can I say? I'm definitely very excited when it comes to this controller, but a lot of you already were. You just wanted to hear my opinion, and here you have it. If you want to see me play around with this, I actually did a Facebook Live video today. You should still be able to find that on my channel, where I just took a couple of tracks, just freestyle for like 15 minutes, just grabbed some tracks and really had fun playing with this, and it made me want to play with it even more. So that's it for my review of the DDJ-1000 by Pioneer DJ, 4-channel controller for Rekordbox DJ. A lot of functionality, great look, loving the feel with the big jog wheels and that nice crossfader. Hope you enjoyed this info. If so, make sure you like the video and share the video. If you've tried this, let me know how you feel about this unit in the comment section down below. And if you're new to my channel, I do a lot of tips and tricks, reviews, Q&As, and all of that stuff. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss out on any of my future videos.